motivation and preparation led to a new sensation, new creation. That's what you're facing. Now watch my elevation.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is DAZN's executive vice president, Joe Markowski, tells Eddie Hearn his antics are hurting the business. We're going to go to the article and we'll discuss it. So here's an article from Boxing Scene, and it says DAZN exec admonishes promoter for quarreling. We don't want our brand associated with that kind of behavior. So here's what he had to say. A top boxing executive at DAZN wants nothing to do with the often entertaining, if highly trivial, war of words between boxing's top promoters. Joe Markowski, an executive vice president at the subscription streaming service, expressed his dismay with the way certain promoters denigrate each other repeatedly through the media, including the promoters exclusively aligned with the platform. Markowski, in particular, pointed to the behavior of Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing, one of DAZN's key content providers. Hearn has had long-standing and, at times, vitriolic roles with Leonard Ellaby, the CEO of Mayweather Promotions, which promotes boxing star Gervonta Davis. Mayweather Promotions does exclusive business with the Premier Boxing Champions, a company that Hearn admits he has a poor relationship with and that Leonard Ellaby often speaks for. Hearn's spats with Ellaby have repeatedly gone viral in the boxing world. Although he did not mention him by name, Markowski also presumably was referring to Oscar De La Hoya, the head of Golden Boy Promotions, which also does important business with DAZN. De La Hoya recently had some strong words for Hearn, blaming him, among others, for Canelo's loss to Dimitri Bivol in their light heavyweight title bout in May. The back and forth exchanges are not something that Markowski wants to encourage. Indeed, the executive even seemed to suggest that they may have taken action against their promoters who have spoken out too forcefully against rivals in the industry power brokers. Markowski believes that the internecine squabbling only alienates other competitors with whom DAZN may want to work with on big fights down the line. And this is the quote from Markowski. He said, what we don't want is, and you've never seen us do, get into a back and forth with other platforms, dissing the prospect of working together. Markowski told BoxingScene.com at a press conference Monday in Manhattan for Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin 3. Markowski expressed his concern that the verbal tiffs between Hearn and other rival promoters would only hurt DAZN's brand. DAZN and Hearn's Matchroom enter a significant rights deal in 2018 with the U.S. market as the focal point. Last year, the two parties signed a new deal to focus on the UK market. And this is a quote of Markowski again. He said, "We don't want our promoters to do that, engage in quarrels," which they do. Markowski continued, "Our promoters do that. Eddie Hearn does it. We slap them on the wrist. We don't want our brand associated with that kind of behavior because we don't think it is conducive to doing our job properly." So that's what he had to say. Basically stating that he feels like Eddie Hearn's quarrels with rival promoters have hurt the brand. I'm going to turn it over to Trill Dollar Bill. What's your reaction to the executive vice president of DAZN saying that he slapped Eddie Hearn on the wrist for that behavior?
I mean, it is what it is. Couple things. I'm not. All right. This is how I view Eddie Hearn. You know what I'm saying? Off the record, just between us.
On the record, but off the record.
You know
we are recorded.
Just us kicking. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Eddie Hearn is a good guy, right? I think he's a guy that, you know, we would hang out with and joke with and crack some jokes with. And I think he puts on a good show. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think. As far as business goes, I think that he's a great guy. You know, he's a great guy, and he puts on some good shows. But as far as business goes, he's a great guy. And he puts
I think what you're saying. That's where it stops.
you know what I'm saying? I'm not too mad at him for, I know the constant going at the other promoters. Yeah, I dig it. But these other promoters, they do it to each other too. I remember when Bob was going at Al, and saying these things about Al, so these promoters do it. Has he started to do it a lot? Yeah, he started to do it a lot, you know what I'm saying? But it's not something that is new. These promoters been doing it to other guys when they first come in. So, and I get it. It is bad, especially when you're an up-and-coming company and you're trying to make these cross fights happen and you don't want to piss these people off, So I'm definitely in agreement with that. I just think that, Eddie Hearn, he has to really, he's a great guy. He puts on some great shows, That's how I feel about Eddie Hearn, man. But I'm not too mad at him. And what they gonna do to Eddie? What they gonna do to Eddie?
They might push to have him, unseated.
You know what I'm saying? Eddie might mess around. He's like, yeah, I'll take that. Next interview is going to go at all of them. First off, forget Top Rank. He might do a Tupac hit him up on all the promoters. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know with Eddie, because how you going to punish Eddie, So it is what it is.
True. All right, Conspiracy.
I actually, I'm 50-50 actually. So I agree with Joe because I'm the same way, right? That you don't necessarily need to go at each other, to build up the brand, right? However, if you go with that strategy, it could work, right? What Eddie's doing, it could work. But I'm pretty sure what Joe's thinking is, but you need to work with these other promoters to make the big fights. So, and in my industry where I work in, right, there's a lot of people that think they're spectacular, that, they do particular things, but they refuse to work with other great people because they feel like, oh, that person's hating on me, or that person's this, that person's that. So they refuse to work with each other because of, past conflicts on certain things, right? And also in my past life, I used to be a club promoter, right? And we used to think like this. Like, our ops would be like, man, forget them dudes, man. You know what I'm saying? We them dudes, But y'all can work together for major events and make you refuse to do it because you're like, that one dude over there I just don't like because I overheard him say something about my brand. Forget him for life, and so, like, these maybe, again, they're businessmen, but they're still human beings. So dudes catch feelings. Leonard L be talking about smacking Eddie. You know what I mean? Like,
he getting 10 feet.
You know what I mean? So now it's like, if I was an executive of DAZN, I'd be like, yo, Eddie, calm that noise. You too, De La Hoya. Stop all of this stuff. We need to work with all of these promoters for our brand to even be like a recognized brand in the U.S. market. Let's just try to work with these guys. We don't need to bash them. And Trill is right. They all do it, right? Well, with the exception of Al. We haven't heard Al say a word. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Al speaking through Ella B. Go ahead.
We've heard Bob talk greasy of all these guys, right? You know what I'm saying? But I feel like, two wrongs never make a right. Do we need to bash these guys? Let our work show for itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, let our portfolio show. We're making these fights, these unification fights, these undisputed fights. We're doing all of this for the sport. We got X amount of subscribers. we're generating this amount of subscribers, we projected this amount in the next couple of years, whatever. Let that speak for us. But it's like when we go into these antics of, yo, I'm a better promoter than you and yada, yada, yada. It's like, do we really need to do that? And this guy, Joe, he's probably like, yeah, we don't need to do that. So guys, y'all dead and all of that. Moving forward, we're not moving in that direction, and hopefully Eddie Hearn takes his advice, because I don't really think it is as beneficial as Eddie may be thinking it is. Same thing with Oscar De La Hoya. You don't want to burn bridges in this type of sport because they all rely on each other, and certain companies are affiliated in, like, they have close ties to certain governing boards, you know what I'm saying? So like the WBC may work with this brand, the WBA may be working with this promoter, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, do you really want to make enemies with guys that have the power to move their fighters up and down the rankings while you're trying to get into the industry? They could shut you out, So it's like, is it really worth it right now? And I think Joe is probably like, yo, enough is enough. You guys with these antics, man, y'all are hurting our brand. Let's just fall back. Even though Eddie may disagree, Eddie may think, yo, man, I'm telling you, yo, we getting traction out here. Our social media is buzzing. He's like, yeah, all that's cute. But I care about these relationships because I know these relationships will be necessary to make the major fights. So let's not even burn those bridges. So that's why I can see both sides. But me personally, I lean more towards Joe than Eddie Hearn and De La Hoya in this situation.
TBE.
What is it? Jay-Z said, what Jay-Z said? Ask my man LeBron. We ain't even got to respond. I think that's what Joe's trying to let him know. Like, we too big for this. Our brand is way bigger than that. We're global. We don't have to stoop to these guys' levels. And I want to say this. I think Joe saw Caden's video last week where he, like, exposed Eddie. And he was like, Eddie looking real foolish. Mm-hmm. So Eddie, yo, you just gotta really calm it down. Like, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, yo. And you gotta just change your tactics. Ain't it right now? Like, earlier before Eddie, he has those slick remarks.
Flies, you could catch flies with SHI. You know what I mean?
I was about to say.
He that is,
It's insane. It's insane.
Let him go.
But hey, his point may still stand. He said you could catch more flies, right?
Right? Because they stick to the honey.
So come on now. I'm just saying it's entertaining banter between them, but from a VP level, it's like, come on, man. We don't bring this type of attention to our company. We're better than that, And Eddie, you've been looking real bad lately. I'm not gonna lie, you my guy. But get together, man. I agree with Joe a lot. Like, it's just not looking good. Where everything is just like you taking the low road to match these guys' energy and everything. I don't think it's proper.
Well, like, I think what we need to do is, like, look at this from, like, a standpoint where you remove your feelings from it, right? And you look at logic. If you want other companies to work with you, it has to be beneficial for them as well as for you. And when you come out the gate the way that Eddie came out of the gate, no one's going to want to work with you. And that's why, like, one of the things that he brought up was how, in the article, it says Eddie admits they have a poor relationship with premier boxing champions, and they have a poor relationship with Leonard Ellaby. And it's like, you know how many boxers you don't have access to because of that poor relationship? I think that's how Joe's looking at it. And Joe's looking at it like, well, why do we have this poor relationship? Oh, nothing I said or did. Nothing anyone else said or did. Something that Eddie Hearn said or has done is the reason why they have that bad relationship. So now he's looking at it from a business perspective, and it's like, yo, your actions are hurting our bottom line, because while you're out here trying to make yourself look like the greatest promoter in the world, you're alienating us from huge markets. like G pointed out, Top Rank is aligned and affiliated with ESPN. So if Top Rank won't do business with you, then you're not going to get ESPN. You're not going to get your fighters on ESPN. The worldwide leader in sports in America. It's bigger than Bob Arum. Why you sitting there trying to squash Bob Arum? And maybe you're right about all your feelings about Bob Arum. None of us, you've heard us. We like, and that's why it makes me laugh, because when we do videos about Bob Arum, nobody says anything. When we do videos about Floyd and all these other promoters, nobody says anything. But when we talk about Eddie, people get upset. It's the same thing. I'm just saying what I think he's doing and how he's hurting himself and how he's hurting the brand. And like, if you don't like Bob Arum, that's fine. But dude, Bob Arum's affiliated with ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. So wouldn't it be nice to you play nice with Bob so your fighter can be seen on ESPN? I bet you, like, yo, half the time Bob and Al Heyman shake on a deal and they have dinner. When they walk away from the dinner, Bob be like, you see the smug look in that asshole's face? I tell you, before I die, I'm going to put my foot far up his ass. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but in that meeting, he'd be like, oh, Al, you're so great. You know what I mean? Al probably says the same thing. Like, oh, man. Well, if I never had to do another deal with Al, 3 summers from now, won't bother me. You know what I mean? Like, but
where's the hand sanitizer?
Exactly.
Where's the hand sanitizer?
They both, before it's time to shake on the deal, they both go to the bathroom. Excuse me, restroom for a second. They both wipe their ass with their hand and come back. Oh yeah. Shake on the deal.
But the deal gets done.
They both offer each other drinks. They accept the drinks, and none of them takes a sip of the drinks, because they don't trust each other.
Petty.
But the point is, they get the deal done. And that's what I'm saying about, like, Eddie, you got to work with these dudes. I get it. You don't like the way they handle business. You may feel like you're better for boxing or whatever, but all this ain't going to make them work with you. Same with PBC. You got a bad relationship with PBC. That means your fighters aren't going to be on Fox. That means that your fighters are not going to be seen on Showtime, right? That means you're cut off from a lot of the big stars in America, and your goal is to take over America. And you had arguably the best lightweight in the world. You did. But you were never going to be able to get an undisputed fight for him because nobody liked you. That's tough, right? And like when we were doing this discussion, Eddie wasn't okay with Devin going to Bob. Devin said it himself in an interview. He said, yeah, Eddie was upset, but I had to do what was best for my career. And he's not going back to Eddie. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He said it in that same interview. They said, well, are you going to go back to Eddie? He said, I don't know. I'm going to do what's best for my career. And what's best for his career may not be going back to Eddie. And then they asked him about Top Rank, and he said, well, I'm comfortable here at Top Rank. They treat me good here at Top Rank. So that's the point. You had the best lightweight in the world, arguably the most talented lightweight in the world, and you couldn't get him the undisputed fights. You couldn't get him those big fights because Luda Bella had Cambosis, and he didn't want to work with you. We already heard what Luda Bella had to say about you. We heard what Leonard Ellaby had to say about you. We know what Oscar De La Hoya thinks about you. We know what Bob Arum thinks about you. Bob Arum said this about the Dillian White Tyson Fury fight when Eddie Hearn was acting like he was going to have to be Dillian White's towel boy or cut man to get into the fight. Bob's response was, I made many deals with his dad. We would sit down and have lunch. His dad was a great guy. You feel me? All of that is reflecting upon Eddie. And that's what I'm getting at. And I'm going to take a moment to be a little petty with the people because they were telling me that Matchroom is so great. Why are they selling 25% of Matchroom shares right now? If Matchroom is so great. Go ahead.
Bro, the market's about to crash. Everybody's selling right now. So it makes sense. I would sell too, to be honest with you. So You know what
I mean,
before the recession hit, and a lot of countries are already in a recession right now, so it actually makes sense to sell. If you hold in like 25% of the shares of a company's public, why not sell? It's like make your money right now because it's about to tank. You know, everything's tanking, so I would sell too. So
I mean that sounds good, but all the other promotional companies aren't selling 25% of their company.
Are they public?
I mean, I'm just saying. I would assume so. Like they're not selling 25% of their company, especially after coming off of reported losses with their partnerships of 1.3 billion. And like I know, and I'm glad you brought that up. When you sell shares, it's for one or two reasons. You need money, or the value of your company is about to drop. So we can agree on this. The value of Matchroom is definitely about to drop. So we can agree on that. The reason why they're selling the shares is your speculation. What I do know is two facts. You sell shares in your company when, one, you need money, or two, the value of your company is about to drop. And Matchroom is looking to sell 25% of their shares. Of course, if you're one of those people who wipes Eddie Hearn's behind, then you're going to make an excuse for him. But all I know is his VP from DAZN is telling him, shut the hell up, right? And admitting that Eddie hurt his business, and now Matchroom is selling 25% of their shares. And if people really believe that the market's about to crash, why would anyone buy those 25%? Because those people are businessmen as well. So they're looking at it like, oh, this place is about to crash. Why would I spend my hard-earned money to invest in a company that's about to crash? So here's the reality of it. Go ahead, G.
Well, it's kind of like the housing market, right? People are trying to sell their houses right now, knowing that housing might either go down in price or it might stagnate, right? So everyone's just trying to sell right now, hoping that before the recession hits, I already sold my house, I could retire. So everyone's trying to lower their prices because, now it's like a competitive market, but soon it's not going to be too competitive. So people are just trying to make money. These are some old heads. Some people just want to retire and be comfortable in Florida.
But that's cashing out, right? You're cashing out because you know that your business is about to.
But again, it's a market that affects everyone. So it's like,
But again, those values of those homes go back up.
Yeah, after the recession.
Okay. But if you don't need money during the recession, you don't need to sell your house, right?
That is true.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Case closed. Case closed. It all sounds cute, but like I said, dog, the real's the real. You need money. You sell shares in your company for two reasons. You need money, and the value of your company is about to go down. If I own a house and there's about to be a recession, and I'm not looking to cash out because I'm good, the recession doesn't impact me.
It only impacts when you try to sell.
If you're trying to sell at its highest point, Eddie's trying to sell at his highest point. Look that up. But again, that's why it doesn't pay to be petty. Like, this isn't an emotional discussion. You know what I'm saying? This is just a logical discussion about what's out there. And again, I can see everyone, well, where's the links? Look it up for yourself. Look it up for yourself. Know your own things. In the end, all I was saying, and all I will continue to say, is what Eddie Hearn did was bad for DAZN, and apparently it was bad for Matchroom too. I never even looked into Matchroom. Y'all kept telling me Matchroom was so great, so I said, let me look into Matchroom. Not so great. In the end, right, all I'm saying is this. Everybody has to eat. What's it? Rich, everybody eats, paid in full, everybody eats. Everybody eats. Everybody eats. That's the way this works. That's the only way this can work. Right? So the only way for like DAZN to make money, the only way for Top Rank to make money, the only way for Ludabella, especially someone like Ludabella, because he doesn't have the affiliates, is to work together. So you can't come out bashing the way that he did. Now, if you don't think that it hurt DAZN's bottom line, then the VP wouldn't be saying nothing. Again, when it comes to Eddie, like, I'll close by saying this because I'm with Trill. Because I actually liked him at first. I still like him. I thought he was a great dude. I do think he's a great character for boxing. I do think he's charismatic. I do think he's energetic. I do think he gives a new a good look to boxing, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't take away from the fact that he's not helping his company. He's getting bigger, but his company is not. And in the end, isn't that the goal?
Basically, what you was trying to say was Eddie's a great guy. Put on some good shows. When it comes to business, Eddie's a great guy. Let us know how you feel in the comments.
Hold on, Chuck. You know who Eddie is? Eddie's like the Dame Dash of the boxing game. Everybody hated him. But my man did have Hove. He had Rockefeller. He was up for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So,
and what'd he do? He alienated Hove, thinking he was bigger than Hove.
Yeah, facts.
You're right. He is Dame Dash. I heard mother saying they made Hove say, okay, so make another Hove.
Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We are the Boxing Bros. We're not saying nothing bad about Eddie. We're just saying he's a great guy. Put on some good shows. But when it comes to business,